We are here, it's the first day, it's the Sunday, 3 nights have passed. It's an experience or experiment here of 3 nights and 4 days. In the center of it is this ever-evolutive, ever-changing display feature by Liam Gillick and Philippe Pareno, and there are 20 artists who do projects with a very, very sort of rolling time schedule, because some things are recurrent, like the Bee-Man of Pierre Huyghe. Other things only happen once, like Dominique Gonzalez first, Sang et Lumière. Other projects are, invisible. Other projects are very visible. So it's in this sense a very free format. And I was very curious, because you said from the beginning that you wanted more to sort of think here. So the thinking is obviously also a project which is important. Can you tell us about how and what you've been thinking? And
actually, I mean, I normally come earlier to check the space before doing something. I really need some time to see and to think and to live with this place where I'm going to do something. And then I couldn't come before, and this time I asked to do it while the exhibition was already on. Well, I understood since the beginning that would be this kind of movable space, that they would be dealing with the sand. There is basically, I don't know, it's just immaterial, it's material, but it's like a formless thing. And it's, I don't know, for me it's very interesting, because all of this is somehow potentially sand. And I was curious to see how people would respond to this, but actually it's, for me, the situation itself is becoming interesting, like how we are here for all of these days all together, since the morning to the afternoon, and I don't know, for me it's an ongoing process, and I'm still thinking of what to do. It's funny, because every time people meet me, they say, what is your project? What is that project? Well, it's like the girls are still missing. So there's something that is curious about to have a project, or you're just here looking at people, looking how they respond to this and how you can intervene on this. What is necessary, not necessarily in the, useful, but what would be relevant to do in this situation. So I'm still formulating. I mean, I'm taking time to think of what is the good or the interesting intervention, this kind of situation. And of course, I have some clues, but it is still early to talk about this. So.
No, I understand, but what is interesting is, thinking can also be a contribution to an exhibition, and it's not. I think it was when attitudes become form. It's had a little label in the exhibition, and whilst the exhibition takes place, this very early conceptual show of Arles, it said, Richard Long, whilst this show takes place, is going on a walk in the mountains. That was his piece. So it's not that there has to be necessarily a material presence. But I was sort of curious. What is your thinking? Because it's a very interesting architecture here. You very often work with architecture. You work in situ. We have here also Daniel Buren, who obviously has another approach to in situ. But for example, I saw your project in Rio at the museum, where you worked with these doors and with the glass, and it was very architectural. We're working together on the Lina Bobari project, which is another kind of architectural collaboration. And here, it's an architecture. There are so many different ways of exploring this arena. And so I was just thinking if you have any thoughts on this architecture or impressions, or.
Yes, I had my impressions, especially because it's this circular big construction in the middle of the city, and everything is around this. We do all the way around this, not just when we are inside here, but when we are in the city, we are always walking in circles, and it's very interesting because we are talking about the moon, and I was thinking about just orbs, and then how to display this orb, just some other kind of movement. I've been thinking about this, of course, and this kind of choreography we have when we are here. We are always moving everybody the same way, and somehow you're always in different planes, going up and down and doing these circles around this arena. So I think somehow we are potentializing this a lot. We have this kind of dance around this. It's interesting. And it's also interesting how, I don't know, there is this amphitheater here, and there's this Roman past, and all of this is interesting, but it's brand new for me. My approach to Lina Bobard or this height building in Brazil is something that I'm belong to here. I was born there. I have this approach since I was a very young person. But here it's this kind of history. It's really curious for me. This overposition of different layers of time all together happening like this. So I have some things to explore.
And what about Kassel? Because you're just back from Kassel.
Yeah, that's
can
it.
You tell us about the piece there, because Kassel just opened. And,
I think I'm dealing with the history there too. Everybody is. Kassel, it's you can't we can't avoid this. It's something that you really know how it was massively bombed, and it's completely destroyed, and just with the overlap of concrete and construct again, and you have this kind of very flat place where I don't know, somehow weird, because you don't see what is really behind this. But I created a kind of archaeological piece, but it's not archaeological at all, because it's just recently constructed, and it's like fragments of a imaginary pyramid that would be in the underground of the city. So you have 3 constructions of this concrete piece, like a basement for what is above. But it doesn't happen. You don't notice it's really parts of these big monuments. You have to construct with your mind. And then you go through one basement to the other. I'm using the Fridericiano Museum basement, and also the lower floor of a department store, and in the building where currently Bakaviev is living now, but it used to be the Brothers Green building, house, when in the past. So I'm dealing with these different domains, like you have the exhibition space, the cultural domain, and you have this commercial that it's almost an extension of this, and just have this private that you have to have the keys, you have to ask the owners to let you in. So you have to follow the dynamic of the city to really get in touch with the work, and you have to go through one place to the other. You have to walk, you have to look for, because it's hidden, it's in the underground, like everything in Kassel. So there are many things that came to my mind when I was conceiving this project. And on the other hand, so many tourists and people with their cell phones trying to catch a signal of internet and etc. And then I made a video piece where you can, it takes immediately your cell phone if you have internet connection, and you have these images of, moving images of the city with a kind of sandstorm. So it's using footage from the internet, everything took from the internet. I made a kind of collage and composed these moving images of the city. That's something that I also thought of using here.
That's it, because there is a connection to Kassel, because also, I mean, if you think about the pyramids, it's another form of
and now we
connection
have
to
this kind of,
and the whole idea of, you know.
Yes, so of course, I still have this on my mind, and it's a possibility too. But let's put all together and see what is more interesting to do later.
Great. One more question is, because, you know, you've experienced now with all the other artists, with the 20 artists here in Arles, experience, a very collective experience of this show, and it's a very unusual protocol for a group show, because normally, you know, group shows happen in existing formats. You've been in biennales, you've been in, you know, documentas, you've been in museum shows. But as Laurence Wiener said the other day, you know, he's been exhibiting for so many decades, but in like his, you know, 5 decades of exhibition practice, there are not that many group shows which have this sort of strange other protocol, which function according to different rules of the game. And Laurence was saying it reminded him somehow a little bit of Utopia Station, when we did in Venice Utopia Station, where there was also a completely different set of rules and all of that. And I was somehow curious how you experienced that sort of different set of rules, and just your impressions of the show. And
yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea to put everybody together and see what happens. I think perhaps we should come back another time. At least I think I would like to be more in contact along the exhibition process, because first I had understood that we would come all here and intervene together in this, and then I realized that people were already doing something before. They were already in their process. I couldn't follow up this because I was busy with Kassel, but I think it will be interesting to have just exchange since the beginning, what to do, why to do, but of course the conversations are amazing. We can see meet each other since the breakfast to the dinner, and it's fantastic because it can exchange ideas and see what people was thinking of doing, and what is there's a very privileged situation. But I just think we should do something together. I mean, like conceiving since the beginning. Well, you did it. I just wasn't here, but it's fantastic to do something like this because you see the thoughts, since the process since the very early in the beginning. It's good.
One very last question is sort of the whole idea of collaboration. Douglas Garden talks about the promiscuity of collaboration between artists and they cover all forms of collaboration. Obviously, we live at the moment in the early 20th century. There were manifestos, Dadaism, and surrealism, etc. Then in the 60s, you had a neo-avant-garde. In Brazil, for example, with tropicalism and all of that. There were again manifestos and movements and groups. And we live in a moment which is maybe a little bit more atomized, so we have less kind of idea of manifestos and groups. However, there is a lot of collaboration between artists. How do you see that kind of common ground you have with other artists and your sort of form of collaborating? And who are the artists with whom you work mostly?
Well, I think I don't know if I understood the question, but I think it's our time. I mean, I didn't live before, other movements, in other moments of art, but I think it's really important to have this collaboration with other artists. You have to have this exchange, and then perhaps sometimes you have to get out of yourself, take another person's work and follow up, and then like just transferring this responsibility to somewhere else. I think it's really important for getting out of your mind. It's really I don't know. I think it's interesting, and I'd love to collaborate more with. I'm actually never invent anything. I always took situations from where they are. I mean, architecturally, the way it works, functions. I did projects, for example, when I worked with Caroline in Sydney Biennial, it was very much to take what was the exhibition and then create a situation that was architectural, but it was also moving other people's works through the displacing walls. So I think we are always thinking of other people's works. It's really, art is not something that you do alone. There is a lot of collaboration, even when you're not collaborating with another artist, you have this on your mind. It's always take this and move on. It's never, you never start from zero. You always have this, all of this history and present history behind you. It's really.
Thank you so much. It was brilliant.